While all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth, have come to great knowledge. How often have the majority of people had repeated the same statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all, and how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these care, careless Athens words. The commonly used expression in or is a survival of the ancient of the ancient emetic maxim quote above, as the caravan says. Mhm. So now, to him who truly understands this truth, have come to great knowledge. And this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much. In this statement of the truth, this emetic maxim is concealed one of the greatest philosophy, scientific, and religious truth. We have given you the emetic teachings regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all, as the caravan says. So now, all is in the all is in the all, but not also the correlated statement that it is equally true that the all is in all. This apparently statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact emetic statement of the reaction existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. Mm. The emetic teachings are to effect that the all is in, remaining within, abiding within its universe, and in every particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually instructed by the teachers by a reference of the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to inform a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form. The favorite example being that of the author or dreamerist forming an idea of his characters, mm, of his characters, or a painter or a sculptor forming an image of an idea that he wishes to express by his art. In which case, or in each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being slowly within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, journalist, printer, or sculptor, is in a sense remaining within or bidding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtual life, spirit, or reality is the mental image, is derived from the mind of the thinkers. Consider this for a moment until the idea is grasped. So, to take a modern example, let us say that Lego helmet Ray Richard existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception of creation, and yet Shakespeare also exists within each of these characters, giving them their vital spirit and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Mick Bauer, Oliver Twist, and Hip? Is it Dickens, or have each of these characters a personal spirit, independent of the creator, have the veins of mythical spirits and reality of their own? Do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? No, we think they do. So, the law of paradox explains that both proportions are truth viewed from the proper viewpoint. McBauer is both McBauer and yet Dickens, and again, while McBauer may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with McBauer. Man like McBauer may exclaim the spirit of the creator is inherent within us, and yet I am not he. How different this from the shocking half-truth announced by certain of the half-wise, who fulfill the air with their cries of "I am God." Imagine poor McBauer or the skin hip crying "I am Dixon's," or some of the lowly crowds in one of Shakespeare's plays announcing that "I am Shakespeare." The O is the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the O. So you gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. Still, the wonder remains that although the earthworm exists merely as a lower thing, created and having its being slowly within the mind of the O, yet the O in the earthworm emanates in the earthworm, and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of O in the O and the O in O? The student will of course realize that the instructions given above are necessarily imperfect, for they represent the creation of mental images in infinite mind, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and the difference between the two poles separates them, and yet it is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each as above, so below, as below, so above. It manifests in everything. So now, and okay, in the degree that man realizes the distant existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means: realizing and manifestations of spirit within. Trying to remember this at last definition that of spiritual development, it contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of being in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter. The highest being is separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all, and upward and onward along this scale of life. Everything is moving. All are on the path whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward, in spite of all seemingly appearances, such in the messages of the Lumind. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all in its aspect of its being projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and processes of creation begins. It is thought that the process consists of lowering of vibration until a very lower degree of vibrating energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible of matter is manifested. So now, this process is called the stage of evolution, in which the all becomes involved or wiped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermetics to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wiped up in his mental creation as to almost forgetting his own existence, and who for for the for the time being almost lives in his creation. If instead of wiped we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea we meant what we meant. So now, stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indwelling. The extreme pull of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea being held in awe of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibration become lower and lower until finally the usage cases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference, that while in the outpouring the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indwelling stage there is manifested the law of individualization, that is that is the attendance of that is the attendance to separate into unit of forces, so that finally that which left the all as an individualized energy returns to its source as countless highly developed units of life have been risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. The ancient Hermetics used the word meditation. They used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all. The word also being frequently employed, but the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out, and so the art of attention is really a mental, reaching out extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into real meaning of attention. So now, the hermeneutics regarding the process of evolution are that they all have been meditated upon the beginning of the creation, having thus established the material foundations of the universe, it into existence, then gradually awakens or rouses from its meditation, and in so doing starts into manifestation. The process of evolution on the material, mental, and spiritual planes successfully and in order. Thus, the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being. The combination begins to form. Life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence. The vibration consistently becoming higher. In short, the entire process of evolution in all its phases begins and proceeds according to the established law of the indwelling process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of men's time, each eon containing countless millions of years. But yet, the lone mind informs us that the entire creation, including evolution of the universe, is but as a twinkle of an eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention and its meditation of the universe. For the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all form which is emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not in a line, but is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are emerged. Such is the report of the rune mind. So now, the above illustrations of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a faint example. And yet, as above, so below, the difference is merely in degree. And just as the all rouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man in time from manifesting upon material plane, and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the ego divine, which is the ego divine, or the divine ego, or the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of metaphysical fields of speculations speculations. So now, although our purpose is merely to show that validity of such speculation, we ask the question, which comes to the mind of all thinkers who ever ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universe? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the greatest of the inquiry. Men have been striven hard to answer his question, but still there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that they all had something to gain by it, but this is absurd. For what could they all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that they all wished something to love, and others that it created for pleasure or assurement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power. Ideas belonging to the childish period of thought, that is childish thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature. It creates its creative instinct. This idea is an advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything internal or external. If its if its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all. And so accordingly, that part of the proportion falls, and yet the all does create and manifests and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in so doing. So now, and it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature and creative instinct in man. Infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby, and all of these things would belong to an inner nature and might be perceived as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from the influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of default, and the default that lies at the root of the problem. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatever or so whatever for the all to act, for a reason impels a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, at which time the principle is set in motion, hmm, as it is set in motion. So now, you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable, just as we say the all is merely is. So we are compelled to say that the all acts because it acts at the last. The all is all, reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself, and it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act, or still further, the all, its reason, its act, is law, are one, or being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in inner self. As I always tell you, the truth is always within. It can only be found in the all, along with its secret of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all, which may be spoken of as the aspect of becoming. Back of the aspect is the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles emerge into principle, and the all is the principle. So now, okay, now and being are identical, one one and said one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is fatal. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question and also the opposite of the ordinary answer of the metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachers have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature, conclusion still legends of its that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating that there was no answer. There was no answer. But then he may have intended to apply his philosophy. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced students did not propose the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes proposed the secret, he failed to impart it, and so far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes speak, what motto may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem is equally true, that the all is in all. The teachings on this point, we may add the concluding words of the question: to him who truly understands this truth have come great knowledge. Have come great knowledge. Knowledge is the only thing we can consume. It's the only thing we can take when we die. So we gotta gain knowledge. We gotta gain knowledge. We gotta master ourselves. We gotta meditate. We gotta go within, look for the answers within. That's all I wanted to talk about. Nature be with you.